Ordinary people, as a rule, rarely go far into the forest, but the hero of today's story is an experienced forester, moreover, with Army experience in Canadian intelligence in the past. One morning John was working in the woods, taking measurements of trees. Suddenly, he stopped when he heard a high-pitched howl in the area. He dropped his equipment and the tools he had taken to measure the trees and slowly walked towards the sound. After a while, the man went out into a forest clearing, where he encountered a large wolf. Her paw was trapped in the trap, and she tried in every possible way to free herself, but she got tired and lay down on the ground. The wolf looked exhausted. It looked like she had been fighting for freedom for a long time. John wanted to help the animal, but when he got closer, the wolf growled. The fur on her back stood on end, but it was more from fear than from real anger. The predator jerked its paw sharply, hoping that it would be able to free itself and escape. But my strength was running out. John stepped back, not wanting to be the cause of injury to a wild animal. Then he saw something unexpected. The she-wolf's udder was full. This meant that there must be her cubs somewhere, who were looking forward to their mother, if they were still alive. And so it turned out. A small wolf cub was looking out in the bushes nearby, and most likely the baby was not alone. John wanted to save the cubs. He needed to act quickly, but he could not approach the she-wolf, fearing that she might harm him and herself. The wolf was on the verge of death. It seems that she has lost a lot of blood due to a wound on her paw, and if left alone, death will be inevitable and within a day or two. In addition, poachers or other predators could come for their prey. John understood this and did not want such an outcome. He had gone through a lot in his life and was not going to give up just like that. He knew that every second he spent could change someone's life. It was necessary to act right now. John braced himself. He sat down and slowly began to approach the she-wolf. He gently touched her paw. To his surprise, she didn't react. She was already completely exhausted. It's now or never. He carefully fenced himself off from the she-wolf with one hand, which he wrapped in a jacket for protection in case of aggression, and with the other hand pressed the mechanism of the trap to release her. But it did not open. The pole remained locked. The trap probably jammed because of the powerful jerks when the beast tried to escape. John didn't have time to think. He leaned on the trap with both hands, contrary to safety rules, leaving his neck uncovered, and he succeeded. The wolf did not resist, occasionally regained consciousness and growled. Then the man lifted the she-wolf on his shoulder and dragged her to his hut. She was only a few hundred meters away from him, but it still took almost 20 minutes to carry a rather heavy predator through the snow. He put the she-wolf next to the bourgeoisie to keep her warm. While the house was warming up, the forester was able to examine the wounds of the beast, which he then washed and treated as best he could with his pharmacy kit. John had a course in medical care while serving in the army, so he knew what to do. If the man had waited longer, the beast would have simply bled to death. The predator gradually began to show signs of life. When she growled at him again, he knew that everything was going to be all right. She needs time to recover, but knowing that she will soon come to her senses, John decided to take her out of the house onto the veranda when she is unconscious again. I put a warm rug there and put a bowl of water. And then he carried out the rescued beast. After he took care of the wolf, John went in search of her cubs. The cubs should not be far away, because usually the wolf does not leave them alone. And so it turned out, thanks to his experience in exploration and working in the forest, he knew the habits of animals. To begin with, he returned to the place where he found the she-wolf and carefully examined the snow around and finally found what he was looking for. Small footprints. It was probably the same wolf cub that was scared of the first meeting and ran away. After a short walk along the tracks, the forester came to the right place. It was a hidden place at first glance. Hoping that it was a shelter with cubs, he gathered his will and tried to attract them. However, the cubs were trained to stay inside until they heard their mother. John was adamant and did his best, even tried to simulate the howl of a wolf, but nothing happened. Already there were thoughts of getting into the hole himself, when suddenly a little wolf jumped out. The animal was starving, so he was ready to take a risk to leave the shelter without his mother. When the first bravest kid came out, the others soon followed. Knowing that he would not be able to carry all 4 of them, he carefully placed them in the bag and closed it. John needed to check if there were any more cubs in the burrow. Sticking his head in a wolf's hole wasn't a good idea, but the idea that he could leave one of them was unacceptable. The man lay down on his stomach and crawled inside a little. Fortunately, the hole was not as deep as he had assumed. John shone his flashlight, but there were no other wolves in sight, and now he could leave here with a clear conscience. Knowing that he had taken all the puppies, he took a bag of cubs and went home. When John opened the door to the veranda where the wolf was sleeping, the puppies whined and the man immediately put an open bag on the floor, from which they flew out like a bullet. The mother heard the voices of her children and stood up on her paws. Her eyes were wet, as if she was crying from a meeting she no longer expected. There was no negative reaction to the man, growling or attempts to attack, but he still left the puppies next to his mother and went into his room, peeping at them through a crack in the door. John hoped his scent wouldn't alienate his mother from them. The cubs ran to their mother. She sniffed at them, and John froze for a moment, holding his breath. She recognized them. The experienced adventurer was happy to tears when she started licking the cubs. She lay down and soon the little puppies began to drink her milk with pleasure. The wolf spent some time with John. She was getting better every day. The man only brought meat once a day and changed the water, while the door to the street was open. Soon the wolf was able to get up and even walk with a limp. A few days later, in the morning, she quietly called her children. They all got up and followed her. The man went outside and looked after the departing family. The wolf walked about 20 meters and turned around. He could see it in her eyes. It was boundless gratitude to this man, but at the same time caution towards people in general, because it was because of people that the wolf almost died, and her children almost died. John never saw a pack of predators again, but he knew that 4 young wolves and a she-wolf were living somewhere now and perhaps even remembering their savior. Despite his age and extensive experience of interacting with animals, he wanted to believe in it. This case spread through many local newspapers in Canada, and John became almost a hero in his town. The man told the media in detail about this extraordinary case, but periodically he is asked to plunge back into his memories and tell the story again at the round table. If this story has affected you as much as us, then please like and subscribe to the channel.